All right, good morning, good evening, good night. Listen, this is going to be a really great Layer 1 podcast. I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I'm super excited to have Kieran Warwick here from Illuvium. They're building a fully decentralized RPG and collection game built on the Immutable X Layer 2 network. Obviously, Layer 1 podcast, we're interviewing founders, co-founders, great people from around the space, so we're glad to have you in here live. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor here on the episode, REVV Racing. They are doing an arcade simulation racing game on the Polygon network, and want to give a quick shout out to Animoca Brands there. The public alpha release of REVV Racing begins on August 11th with the Alpha Inaugural, a 7-day competitive racing event offering a total of $150,000 in prizes starting August 11th, guys. So definitely want to give a great shout out there to Animoca Brands. They've been supporters of the channel for a long time. Kieran, that was my first time doing a live sponsor, so hopefully I did that okay. Thank you for joining me today, man. I'm super stoked to talk Illuvium. I'm really just hyped for this episode, and I love what you're building, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing very well. It's early morning here, but good to be on the podcast. I've seen what you guys have been doing for a while now. I've followed you on Twitter and stuff like that. So awesome to be here, and I can't wait to answer any questions that you have.
Awesome, brother. All right, well, we're gonna get to your background, man. I had Kane on a while ago, so I'm like checking off Warwick's from my podcast list here. But I want to get your background and talk about what you're building with Illuvium. But let's talk about how you got into crypto, how you found yourself in NFTs, and we'll make our way there.
Yeah, so it's kind of intertwined with Kane's story, I guess. In back 5-6 years ago, we were part of the first over-the-counter Bitcoin exchange in Australia. It was something that Kane started, and then he brought me on shortly after. And it was my job to basically sign as many of these Bitcoin platforms, Bitcoin companies to the platform. And that gave me exposure to not just Bitcoin, but I'm a very, very big degen at heart. And so immediately Bitcoin volatility was not enough for me, which if you're going back 5 years ago, you'd have to almost be an insane person to say that. But I had to go even deeper. And so I found myself investing in altcoins even back then, which was, ETH was the main one, and then a few others. And I loved it. I was deep into it. I started telling all my friends, you got to buy this. This is the new revolution. This is, it's going to take over the world. And I think I was just a little too early, and I got burnt a bit, and I lost quite a bit of money trading. And so I said to Kane, I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing it. I'm out.
What year was this?
Hey?
What year?
This is 2016. So I'm talking trading ETH at 8 and then going down to 6, and you're losing like 20% of your value, 25% of your value. It's like, it seems in retrospect, if I could go back, I would be holding a god awful amount of Ethereum. But yeah, I got burnt. And then it wasn't until basically a little, maybe 18 months ago, Kane was really pressing me, and he said, look, dude, you got to get back in. Like it's amazing what's happening in the DeFi space. And so, yeah, I started looking at it, and gaming really drew me in, and decided to start building an NFT game.
Yeah, I was back in the day working at ICOLA in 2017, dude. I think we can compare some bags that kind of wrecked us there. So you said you were a big DJ. Did you get it? Let me break down your NFT bags for me, man. Like, as you kind of made your way into the NFT space, what projects were you interested in? And then did that kind of click in your mind that, wait, we could actually build something here? This is what's missing in the market.
Yeah, so my first exposure was actually from my business partner, and he'd gone heavily into Decentraland quite early, and I liked that whole concept. I thought it was cool, and I think it's going to continue to grow and be a pivotal part of the whole NFT space. but it didn't have the same like addictiveness that a video game can really give you. And so I started looking around at other games, and there was like Lost Relics and stuff like that, and nothing was really grabbing me until I found Axie. And I'm a huge so I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and these guys had actually built something that we were going to go down that path of doing 2D art, making it quite simple, but cool strategic battle elements, and but not going too heavy on the art. And the idea behind that was, this NFT space is blowing up. We need to get a product to market ASAP. But then we quickly switched gears and said, I think if we're being honest with ourselves, there's going to be a ton of other people that are doing the exact same thing. We need to set ourselves apart. And so, of course, we decided to go with the highest caliber you can possibly go with. And now we're dealing with that.
Let's talk about that too, because what we're seeing right now in the NFT space is everyone is doing the exact opposite. Everyone is trying to just throw together a blender of 6,000 images that they can throw utility on a roadmap, sell it out in 2 seconds. It seems like you guys went the hard path, but it's where we're headed, right? Like, we're going to be moving into this space where NFTs with utility are going to be not the only thing, but the real big thing that takes us to mainstream. So what's the importance for somebody that's new on this play to earn mechanic, this NFT gaming movement that's about to, as you and me both know, about to blow up?
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing is protecting yourself, right? You need to. It's the same thing that happened in DeFi back 12 months ago, when we're right on the cusp, and it feels almost identical, right? Like, we're sitting there, yield farming had just popped up, and people were earning ridiculous APYs on these protocols, but you just didn't really know what was behind them. A lot of them were anonymous. I was heavily invested in Pickle early on in the DeFi days, and I really, like that was all about bringing stable coins back to their peg, and it served its purpose for a while there. But if you weren't careful and you stayed in that project, chances are you're going to get wrecked, right? And so it's a similar situation with NFTs. We have all these collections that are out there, and it's very hard to be able to see, okay, is there actually a team behind this? Is there actually a purpose to these images? Is there any plans later on to integrate these things into different games and stuff like that? And so I guess the thing to be wary of is invest in the projects that have a good team. That's the first thing. And from there, you'll be able to see other people will also have the same, theories, that if they have a good team, then they're going to have a good community. And so that's the second pillar. So you need to be in there. And if there's people talking and it's active and it's positive, then you can go, okay, there's some substance here, and, they might be onto something. And then you really need to look at, like, really dive into the quality of the thing that they're creating, whether it's artwork, whether it's a game, whether it's, some kind of NFT platform. You just got to look at those three things and then make a decision. And yeah, of course, always be careful, but it's crypto. You gotta take that plunge.
Yeah, man, I love the DeFi background that you come from, because adding that into the NFT aspect and being able to do that at a high level is one of the theses is why I even hold, ILV, and I'm in your staking dashboard and doing all these different things, because it's going to be awesome to see that kind of synergy there. And to your point, like, teams, you guys are doing a great job. So you guys decided on the foundation of Illuvium, the idea sparked in your brain, and then what has been kind of that timeline? You can give it to me in a TLDR, and then we can hit the game itself.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been a whirlwind. I'll say that. So I think I was thinking about it today. It was just after my birthday that I first went, okay, light bulb moment. And that was back in July last year. So it's only been just over 12 months. And basically from ideation, from the first idea, I went straight over to my other brother's place and I said, dude, you know, we need to get this game started. This is the market, blah, blah, blah. And that got us to a stage where we had about 5 of us in the team. And from there, and in Jan, that's when we started really ramping things up. That's when we built our leads. And then our leads started going out and getting more artists and more engineers and stuff like that. And that basically got us to the point where we're at now, which is 12 months later. We're about 3 weeks out from a game demo. It could be sooner, but I want to say 3 weeks. And yeah, we've got nearly a team of 100 people. And these guys are made up of, AAA talent. They've all worked in studios that are super, super high caliber. And yeah, we're here now. We probably need to grow to still 200, 250 people to launch the quality that we're looking for, but we're well on our way.
Yeah, you guys have a massive vision for this project, and I really want you to break it down because I love hearing it from the founder's mouth, not me just kind of talking about the overview there. Last thing I want to hit before we do that is this beef with Axie Infinity, man. It seems like it's a great marketing tactic from you. Like that's what I saw when I first heard you start tweeting about it. And is that what you're going for? Is it just like, hey, we're going to be mentioned with Axie and we'll get hit back, or what's the thing here with the beef with Axie?
Yeah, look, I've mentioned it many times before. It's antagonistic marketing, right? It's poke the bear enough, and they're going to turn around. And in this case, it's not necessarily a direct attack or anything like that. You got to understand, I hold the AXS token. I hold Axies, and I just very recently, I flipped my Mystic land, which I was holding for a long time. And so I believe in this product, and I believe that they're going to continue to grow. But that belief stems from the fact that they were first mover advantage and they're generating so much revenue that I think at some point they will pivot and start building a proper AAA studio themselves, right? Otherwise, there's just piles and piles and piles of money building up, right? So I thought to myself, what do we want to do here? Which projects are going to be around for the longest? So us actually anchoring ourselves to Axie was a strategic move in that I knew where these guys were going to go, right? And so when people really are like, but it seems like you don't like them or whatever, it's like, no. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems to be working for us because what I want to occur is essentially people go, who's this crazy dude, out on Twitter, like who, how dare he? And like, I've had death.
You got that. Yeah, I bet. Don't go to the
I'm
Philippines.
not even
Do not go to the Philippines.
No, we're turning that around. We're going to have a water buffalo which is their national animal, and we're going to make that an Illuvial. So we love the Philippines. Please don't kill me if I go there. But yeah, so I guess there is a method to the madness, and yeah, it seems to be working.
Yeah, we could pick up a little AMA here and talk about how I sold my Axie Infinity tokens at $1, but we won't do that. We'll get into Illuvium. Tell me, man, we have a fairly broad, spectrum when it comes to people that are viewing this. There's going to be Illuvium followers. There's going to be Lad City members. There's going to be people who have no idea what's going on. For kind of all three, and that's a hard task, but what is Illuvium? What are you planning on doing here over the coming years?
Yeah, so at its heart, it's a combination of a Pokemon style game where you've got you're this spacefaring race, you crash land on this alien planet. It's got all these crazy biomes. We're planning to have 7 different regions. all with their own, their own type of style of art. And it's meant to be super immersive, and you're basically walking around with your hunter, which you choose at the beginning. And the idea is to go around, mine as many shards as you can, and then go out into the world and start capturing these creatures, which we're calling Illuvials. Very similar to Pokemon, we're launching with 150 of them. And when I say launching, in set one, there'll be 150. Aaron's made it very clear to me. He's like, whoa, you got to hold up on the 150 talk. And we will get to 150, but we're probably going to launch with like 100. Don't quote me on that either. And then the other side of it is the team fight tactics, which sort of makes it a little bit more complex, a little bit more strategic.
It's going to be TFT based.
Yeah, you play?
I play TFT. I thought that was going to be a card game that you guys recently released. It's TFT?
Dude, we're making Pokemon meets TFT.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm a fan here listening as well. Keep going. But okay, we are on Team Fight Tactics. Really cool, by the way, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, in the last 5-6 years, I've had a couple of different startups, and over the last decade, certainly 4 or 5. So I haven't had as much time to game as I'd like, but Team Fight Tactics, I've always played. It's such a strategic game. It's so awesome how they keep on changing the sets. And so Aaron is like in love with that game. And I'm in love with Pokemon. And so we kind of kept battling it out, and we're like, all right, fuck it. Let's just create a amalgamation of both games, and it'll be harder, but let's just do it. And so that's it. So you collect your team of Illuvials. If you're a whale out there and you can't be bothered going out and putting all your sweat equity into collecting them, you can just buy them on our Illuvidex, which is our decentralized exchange. But then you can go into 2 arenas. So the first one is very similar to your team fight tactics, your ranked battle, where you're going to go up against someone of a similar caliber, similar ranking, and basically all the stats of your Illuvials are normalized. And so you have a very fair strategic battle that takes place. That's the first arena. The second arena is called the Leviathan Arena, and that's where I resurrected my degen in me. And essentially it's PvP, so it's 1v1, and you can put down any amount of ETH that you want and bet at someone, and then it's winner takes all. And that's not normalized stats. So that's if you think you're a hero, if you're a Kane out there who has too much money to even handle, he's going to be like, well, I'm going to just go on to the Illuvidex. I'm going to buy myself the most premium team of level 50 Illuvials, and I'm going to go start wrecking all these other people. But little does he know that TFT takes a ton of strategy, and someone who's like half as good in his team composition is actually going to beat him purely because he's better at the game. And then we're going to see these whales start losing big amounts of money to just true gamers, really. Yeah.
Now, when you guys first came out with the trailer, I think like 8 months ago, maybe 6 months ago now, who knows in crypto time, but that kind of drew me in as an open world game. Is there going to be an open world kind of game concept that goes along with it?
Yeah, so that's the super cool thing. So you've got things like a jetpack, which you need to craft. So you don't get that in the beginning, but you need to mine the resources to get that. And that will give you an idea of how open world we're going with this. There's crazy catastrophic weather events in all these different regions. And so you've got like, it's pretty cool. And to be honest, we've got our team split. There's like the environment team, there's the character team, and then a bunch of like animation, whatever. But the environment team, I feel for them because they like all these characters are being leaked and whatever, but the environments team is like building this crazy open world that I've never seen before. It's like Avatar, and they just haven't got their time in the spotlight yet. But come the very, very soon, we're going to be showing off that overworld.
Awesome, man. I got a couple questions that's related to land there, but one of the awesome things about the Layer 1 podcast is we're live, so we can take live comments while we're going. Dennis Marti says that any of you guys have a favorite character from the leaks so far. So do you have any favorite characters from the Illuvials that you dropped so far?
Yeah, so mine's Squeeze. It was actually, I went to my mate, like, I don't know, before anything even was anything. And I said, hey, dude, do you want to get, you're a good artist. Do you want to come up with a concept for a character? And he came up with this cute little squid that ends up turning into this mega demonic, crazy character that's one of our most powerful. But that squid is just, it gave me that Pokemon vibes again. And so obviously my mate didn't draw it. It was drawn by like a guy who used to work at Blizzard. So that's why the quality is there. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about little squiz that I really, really like.
Amazing, man. All right. I mean, as a gamer myself, I want to get into like a lot of your thoughts on, you mentioned Blizzard and all these AAA games getting in, but I really want to stay within the gameplay itself for right now. So as far as that land piece that you talked about, or that open world, will there be some type of land sale? Those seem to be really hot when it comes to NFT games. Is there a potential to have that land sale on the roadmap?
It's not a potential. It's a definite now. And the reason we didn't come up with land in the first place, right? And keep in mind, I'm prefacing this with I went and bought land in Axie, right? I had it. But games that go out and sell stuff without a use case, just to say, hey, there's gonna be something. I don't know. Like I took the punt on that Mystic plot. It was like, I don't know, it was like 300, 400 bucks or something. It was a couple of ETH at the time. But it just didn't sit well with me that I didn't know what the hell it was going to be and like how I could utilize it. And so I went to Aaron, and I'm like the revenue guy, right? Like I'm trying to generate as much cash as we possibly can. And I can say that because it's all decentralized and it goes back to, all the stakers and the players and whatever. But I said, dude, we need to do land. And he was like, we don't have a use case for it. So go fuck yourself, basically. And I was like, all right, well, can you come up with a use case? And he's like, dude, do we really need to? And I'm like, it's going to be big. Everyone's doing land. We got to do it. And so he has been working on a second mini game, and he's built a GDD for that, which essentially is land with a very real use case. And what that potentially is going to be, this hasn't been passed by council yet, but you're in this other world, which is connected to the main game. And basically it's a builder and resource game. So you buy your plot of land, and then you can start building different plants and production facilities, whereby you're basically creating the resources that are provided to the main game, and they basically work as it's basically like a tap, right? Mm-hmm. And so the people who own the land, who are producing these resources, they can choose to either withhold it or they can sell it all back to the main game. And then the mechanics of that, how that ties in with the main game, is a shard will require some percentage of this mini game minerals, right? And if people are withholding it, and they're land barons, and they're like banding together, and they're like,
I was going to ask, when unionize,
like literally, like it's real world goes digital here. And they're sitting there and they're like, let's just fucking pump the price of essentially gas in this, like if you want to use that analogy, or they can flood the market, and then all of a sudden, which is what we think is going to happen when we first launch, right? Everyone's going to be wanting to cash in on these resources from land shard prices will go down a ton, and then people are going to want to play the game more at the start because they're like, holy shit, shards are super cheap. And yeah, so it just adds a little bit of an exciting element to it. And yeah.
Is there a risk of tying something that has that like game theory mechanic into the actual game? Like what if something bad does happen over here and it affects that, your main game?
Yeah, so the one thing that I said to Aaron was like, I straight away go to like my
Worst case
like
scenario.
well, not just like what would I do, right? Like how could I capitalize on this? And I said, we need to be able to allow people to buy multiple plots of land, and then if you combine those plots of land, then you can build like a huge industrial resource plant where but keeping in mind that you might have plots of land around that. So I might be this massive whale who's like, I need your plots of land queue. And you're like, you're not getting it, right? Because you want to hold those land. But if you don't have them all attached, then you can't build this massive facility plan, right? So you've got that game theory that starts opening up. And I think that that's super cool, but there's obviously huge risks there, which is why I predicated this with it's not in stone yet. Mm-hmm. Those percentages that we're talking about, I pulled out 50% come from the mini game. If we were to make it risk free, we would say 0 and it has no effect. If we want minor risk, maybe 5% of a shard cost is from the mini game.
Got it. Okay.
But it's all up to the council.
Yeah. I want to touch on the council. I want to talk on the Illuminati, I believe, and the transition to a DAO. Really cool concept. We just launched our DAO here at Lad City as well, so we're kind of looking to see different kind of concepts that are thrown out there into the universe. But as far as what token holders can do now, or what someone's interested, listening to this podcast, interested in kind of taking part in Illuvium now, what does that short-term time frame look like? Like, I know that the staking dashboard's live. People can stake for extra Illuvium. There's synthetics involved as well in that dashboard. There's different pools. But what can someone that's interested now do to get involved in what you guys have got going on?
Yeah, so if you buy the first thing you should do is go to our Discord. That's where a lot of the action happens. You can any of the outstanding questions you have. There are thousands of people in there that'll happily answer your questions. But right now, the governance token ILV is what you want to be holding if you want to dictate the direction the protocol and the game goes in. So we're what we call DAO first, or not what we didn't coin that term. I think it was actually my brother, but yeah, we're DAO first, which essentially means we've handed over the power. No, there's not a single core contributor or investor. Sorry, I think there's one investor left, but there's no core contributors. It's just community members essentially on our council right now.
Already?
Which means, yeah, which means, we like, it's a little bit scary for a guy like me who's like, give me my power back, but you can't. You just can't, like, the opportunity for a fully decentralized game. And I'm talking like fully decentralized, like me as one of the founders, if I want to change something right now, I can't, right? That is true decentralization. And so, yeah, so people can essentially buy the token. They can start, if they want to, they can create an IIP or an ICCP, which are basically the proposals that improve the protocol or change like a configuration. Like I was just talking about, I pulled out 50% for that land sale, for the land percentage. They could set that at 7.77 if they wanted, whatever they want. Mm-hmm. The third thing, which is pretty much only relatable to like games and something that we wanted to tap into, is literally allowing someone to create a character proposal. And so we built the back end ability system to be completely modular. And so someone can literally on a spreadsheet put down what they believe an Illuvial should be, and then come up with the descriptions, come up with the ultimates, come up with like the lore of where the character came from, where does it sit, submit that. And if the council approves it, then you're literally going to be seeing your character in this game as a token holder. So that to me is pretty cool.
Yeah, since you mentioned TFT, my mind has just been kind of working within that League of Legends environment. Huge League of Legends guy, so having all of the lore built out as the game progresses and all these things, but having it from a community standpoint too, that's going to be cool, man.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So from a fan perspective, right? I want to get involved in Illuvium. One of the cool things we want to do with Lad City, because we're cross project, we cover a lot of different projects. We want to have clubs, much like in that YGG fashion, where you can have people within one community playing a certain game. I'm going to be a part of that Illuvium club in Lad City. What does that roadmap look like from a gameplay standpoint? You mentioned in I think 3 weeks, you said there's going to be a gameplay update or something like that we can see.
Yeah. So look, a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines right now. They've seen the hype. They've maybe seen the feud between Axie, and they're like, are they really going to be better than Axie? Are they really going to have better graphics? And what if their gameplay is absolutely terrible and whatever? And I respect that, right? I fully get that. It's crypto. There's huge hype cycles and all that stuff. But in 3 weeks, that's when the gauntlet goes down. You're going to literally see this AAA gameplay. It's going to be very similar to Teamfight Tactics. It'll showcase the strategy that's required, and yeah, hopefully we've put to bed a lot of the rumors that maybe we're not going to live up to the hype.
I am really excited for that, man. To see, like, I've been talking to a lot of my normie friends that game and trying to say, hey, come on into NFTs, but there's nothing I can really show them yet. That they're like, oh, I want to get involved. I want to get in. Hey, man, if you guys can do that over the next year, that would be so cool. I remember Kagi, who you recently did an interview with about Axie Infinity and a couple other things. He was mentioning that you guys had that roadmap right when you guys released about the game being launched, and you guys pushed it back from the start. I mean, it was not something that I expected you guys to get done just at the end of the year. It made it, in my opinion, like your guys' vision is 1-2 year based, longer than that, but like getting that initial game out, that's.
Yeah, it probably, and I've said this before, it's not, there's something about putting a date out there, right? It kind of, for me, if I set a date, and sometimes internally people are like, stop doing that. What are you doing? And
Yes.
it puts a stake in the ground, right? And it says, we have to hit this date. And even if it's not realistic, right? It's still, if you can convince the whole organization that we're working towards this and it might be possible, and everyone is working feverishly hard, ridiculous hours and to get there. And if you don't get there, but you're a couple of months, 3 months, 4 months behind, you're actually in a better spot than if you said, hey, let's do the realistic thing of saying, let's do this in 3 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I get a lot of flack from that, and people are like, yeah, but there's burnout and there's things like that. But the type of caliber we're looking for is someone who has never had the autonomy to literally work their own hours, to be able to say to us, hey, I'm not working for the next week because I just did a month straight or whatever. It's completely up to the individual. And it really has proven that we're going to get there faster than most AAAs. But you're right. There was a bit of inexperience on my part, and yeah, it's going to take a little while.
It felt like you were trying to do that again in that same way of Axie Infinity. It's getting your name out there, regardless if it's negative or positive. People know about Illuvium because some people will use that as an easy way to complain. So yeah, man, that's one of the reasons a lot of these NFT games haven't existed up to this point. It takes a while to build these big games. So Awesome. I've got some questions here in the chat again for you. So Dennis, again, is asking a great question. Could we take the Illuvials we own out of the game and into the metaverse with us? Will NFT owners receive 3D files?
You're gonna receive the NFT, right? You can take that wherever you want, right? We live on a layer 2 solution as it stands right now, so you can always convert that back to you can always transfer that back to mainnet. Sell it on OpenSea if you want to. In terms of the interoperable opportunities, we're in talks with 3 or 4 games, and again, we need to align ourselves with games that are going to have similar graphics quality to us. But that what we're looking for is, there's a weapon that's available in one game, and that same weapon can then be taken into our game and utilized in Illuvium. And so there are a couple of different mechanics that play there, and balancing is crucial in this. And so the short answer is yes. The long answer is there's a lot more discussions that need to be had before I can start saying, like, yeah, there's going to be, our characters will be playable in this game, and our weapons and our enhancements and all that stuff will be available in others.
Yeah, there's another comment I want to touch on really quick. One of the awesome things about play-to-earn games and NFT games in general is there's a lot of times a supply cap on things that most of the time in traditional games, something like a currency isn't capped and therefore ruins the in-game economy. Opithian is saying the NFT Illuvials can be burned to reach the evolved forms too, so there's burning, unlike Axie. Is there a burn mechanic to level up, and is there a supply cap on the amount of Illuvials in the world?
Yeah, so they're all on a bonding curve, and so essentially what that means is as they get caught, they get harder and harder and harder. There's less chance of you encountering that Illuvial. And the way that team fight tactics, we wanted to add in that element of here's a new set, right? Set 2, set 3, set 4. So you're constantly changing up the strategy. But with us, we couldn't have like 500 Illuvials in that you can use for battle, because it gets too crazy to be able to actually balance them. So we're toying with the idea. It was originally meant to be, as soon as the set 2 comes out, that is it. You can't get any more. You can't capture that Illuvial anymore, right? I'm poking Aaron a little bit and saying, can we maybe potentially have it so it's like a snap off? And yes, you can't get them anymore, but whatever was remaining in the overworld, they stay and they can be caught. And obviously they become super, super rare. But that just still gives you that ability, like 5 years down the track, where a Genesis Ramfire is sitting there and there's only like one left in the world. Some dude stumbles upon it and it's just like, holy shit, this is the greatest day ever. But to answer the question, going back to the fusion, yes. So theoretically right now, you could actually, you can't fuse one out into extinction, but you could fuse them down to a single one. So you might have, Squiz, right? Like everyone's going to want to fuse. You need 3 Squizzes to be able to fuse it up to its tier 2 form. And then you need another 3 tier 2s to get up to your tier 3. I think, people are going to be very, very bullish on this fusing mechanic, because it gives you such a better Illuvial. But from a collector's standpoint, that's gold for you, because if you're smart, you're going to keep one of those or a couple of those, because everyone else is trying to fuse up. So you're literally watching your character become more and more rare, and you're just going, yep, keep on doing it, boys. I love it.
I want to touch on the outer world experience. You mentioned Pokemon a couple times on this episode. As far as me running into a Genesis Ramfir, the last one of its kind, what have you, on the last one, you mentioned a bonding curve. How does that interaction look from an interface level? Am I battling that one with my current Illuvials, and then am I purchasing it with ETH or Illuvium? How does that?
No. so you essentially you go out into the world and you've ideally mined your shards, right? And then to get there's a free play element, but let's just talk about the play to earn, the non-free part. So you essentially mine for your shards. You then have let's say a bag full of 10 shards. You've got a tier 1 shard, you've got a tier 5 shard, and whatever. You've also got a couple of Illuvials that you've already gone out into the world and captured. And you do that via the same mechanics. It's an auto battler, but it's an auto battler versus an NPC, right? Or a group of NPCs, those being the Illuvials. And so the idea is you bring your hunter in, you bring your Illuvials. As you go through these battles, you're actually leveling the Illuvials, and then you capture them. So if you beat them, essentially they faint. They never die because that's too mean. But they faint, and then you have the opportunity to capture them. Some will flee. Like if you throw... And this is where I think the streaming part of it, I can't wait to watch this shit happen.
Somebody misses.
100%. Are you kidding? I want to see, like early on in the Discord, I was like, I want to see broken keyboards. Like, let's get this going. And if you're sitting there and you're a dude who has just gone, I'm quit. I don't have time to buy a tier 5 shard on the Illuvidex, or I don't have time to grind today. I'm just going to quickly go out and play a game. And you're 5 minutes in and boom, Ram 5 pops up and it's hollow. And you're like, I have a tier 1 shard. I got one shot at this. And if I miss this, I'm losing like potentially $1 million. That on stream, he's gonna start that stream and he's gonna be like, all right, guys, we got one shot at this, 5 minutes. He misses. God, it's like a Logan Paul opening up his pack and going, I just paid $100,000 for this and there isn't a Charizard. What am I doing?
Nothing like this exists today in games. It's like, it would be like the only thing I can think of is like Davey Day Trade Global, like Barstool, like just betting $1 million and be like, shit, I'm losing 100K. Yeah. Like that's instant gold.
It's crazy, man. And it's all possible because of the verifiable ownership that you get with NFTs. It makes all of this, limitless, basically.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I would love to get a follow-up interview here in the next 3 months, man. And like I said, we're doing a lot of really cool things with Lad City and gaming clubs and play-to-earn revenue streams and all these different things. So I think there's a lot of cool things we can do together, and I'm so excited from just a fan perspective just to take part in this. So last question I have from the community, and then we'll get you out of here. Halo Gamers is saying, is there a visual representation of the varied levels of strength in these Illuvials? Or so as you get Illuvia, does it grow, essentially?
Oh, right. Yeah. So typically, yes, the tier 2s are generally like 30-40% bigger, depending on the line, like if it's the type of creature that we've got the inspiration from. But yes, you're going to see a larger Illuvial as they, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Yeah.
Got it. All right, man. This has been great. I want to cap this with one statement and then one last question. I always ask a book recommendation, so begin thinking about that. But I wanted to congratulate you on passing synthetics there on fully diluted valuation. Had to throw that in the podcast for Kane. Congrats on that, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that like a lot of as a lot of people know that I'm super competitive. So's Kane, and there's no greater competition than between brothers. And so that was a huge one for us. He's obviously throwing out cheap shots like, well, let's talk when it's circulating market cap and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, with Axie the way that it is, I think the writing's on the wall that he might be picked.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We will see. All right, book recommendation question, and I'll let you go for this episode.
Awesome.
You got a book recommendation for them out there, for anybody?
Oh, I would go I can't think of the name right now. I read this like 6 months ago. It was one sec. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the Nike guy.
Love it. Great one. All right, this has been a great podcast. Appreciate you guys stopping by. We had 60 people stop by. We're doing these on video here on YouTube as well as audio form, so you can catch it on iTunes, you can catch it on Spotify. That's a lot of our viewership is there. So if you want to go over there and subscribe, go do that, guys. Again, we had Kieran Warwick here, co-founder of Illuvium. Excited for this game, man. Kieran, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks very much, Kieran. See you guys.